whispers and rumors that don't get reported. Stories I write that are often distorted. Got my notebook and pen, and I'm ready to listen. Tell me the truth, I'll consider your position. I've seen killers with eyes so cold and dead, and others go to prison because of what someone said, rotting away for the rest of their lives, leaving a hole here on the outside. Things are sad here on Earth, and it's no wonder why, when you consider the sociopaths who remain in charge. It's me who sees the system for all its flaws, and I usually start with the probable cause. My right hand is reading the probable cause. Welcome to The Probable Cause. This is a podcast covering the criminal justice system in Allen County, Indiana, northeastern Indiana, and the state of Indiana. I'm Jamie Duffy, your host and a locally based journalist. To my left is our co-host, Michael McAlexander. He is the Allen County Prosecutor. Today, we are going to talk about Adult Protective Services, a very important service to help those who can't help themselves. Why are we going to talk about this? Because the service has been outsourced, and that is a later development. But first, as always, the courts. Mike, what have we got this week? It is a shortened week.
Yeah, we have a couple of trials that started today.
Really?
I think a handgun case and a child molest case.
Okay, so yeah, not a big 4-day case.
No. We had a homicide trial that the jury came back with a reckless homicide verdict instead of the murder last week. Again, it was one of those difficult ones for us that a person thought he claimed self-defense in a sense and then claimed the gun accidentally went off. And I have a little trouble sometimes with that when, you've put the gun in your hand, it's loaded, and your finger's on the trigger.
With one in the chamber, we established that.
But there were circumstances, and we don't always agree with what the jury does. I think it was something of a compromise verdict. They were hung on the firearm enhancement, so I don't know what the split on that jury was. But
I wish you would have polled the jury.
Well, those
Nobody
can
polled
be
them
tough
to find out why?
I've never seen a jury when you poll them, do anything. But usually, I've always found that hung juries in particular usually want to continue the discussion.
Oh, okay.
Because nobody got it resolved, and they kind of want to keep going and argue their position. So
I was there for the closings for that murder trial. It was Jaskaran Singh. He did have a Punjabi translator there. Robert Scremin, the lead defense attorney, and Quentin Ellis did argue for the lesser included charge of reckless homicide. And the jury, after deliberation, they agreed. And while I was there, I went in thinking, oh, this guy's guilty. He confessed. He said he had the gun. I mean, what else is there? And yet his scenario was that somebody was banging on the back door super loud. His roommate claimed to have seen somebody that looked suspicious. He got scared. He went to the door with the gun loaded in his left hand, and his right hand, which was the dominant hand, opened the door, and then he shot one shot. Unfortunately, it hit Khatiza Binti, she's got a longer name, in the torso, and that one bullet killed her. It was a big shock for me that the jury was hung on the gun enhancement, because I only ever saw that one other time, and that was with Tremaine Wyatt. And I don't believe that they were hung on the gun enhancement. They literally did not agree with the gun enhancement in that, because they weren't sure that he pulled the gun, that he did the killing on that one. So that's why I said he used a gun. He was the only one who could have shot that woman. He admitted that he shot it. So that's why I keep thinking, boy, if they could have just pulled the jury, I would have loved to have known what they were thinking. But anyway, that said, I'll be in the...
Well, we don't pull the jury on hung juries.
Oh, you don't?
Mm-mm.
Oh.
Now, frequently, a bailiff or the judge will go back and talk to them. And if they want to talk to the attorneys a lot of times the attorneys want to talk to them, and as I said, they're still making their case. So it's always interesting to see how a jury functions, but there's a lot of variables in how they function.
Well, but you have a right as a prosecutor to retry that gun charge.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking about it, or do you not want to watch that?
Haven't discussed that with the trial counsel on it yet to know, and that's where having some information behind it is beneficial, because was this one person that just really felt like it was just a justified homicide, but went along with the reckless homicide and got everybody else to go along with that, but didn't want to go up. I don't know what the deal was with that, but usually when they go for a lesser included, it's frequently some level of compromise, and that might have been it.
And that was a smart move by Robert Scremin to have that included.
He's a good lawyer.
He is a very good attorney.
And they had a case that probably fit that a little bit.
Right. I always feel like Jamarian Thomas should have been a reckless homicide too. But if you don't give that choice, then it's like, well, killed somebody, therefore it's murder.
Well, you have to have evidence that supports that as the charge over the knowing or intentional killing of a person, which is what you have to prove for murder.
Right, and that's what the prosecution was trying to prove, and jury just said, well, I think it was reckless. You can read about this case on theprobablecause.com or on our Facebook page, The Probable Cause, because I was there for closings and I did write a story and found it to be very interesting, and I'm sure that you will too. So now on to Adult Protective Services. Why are we talking about this? In 2024, the Adult Protective Services managed a total of 11,500 cases across 17 regional units. Allen County was the head of one of the regional units, where there's several other counties that are involved. The total volume of incoming calls was higher, but reports that don't meet the statutory requirements are screened out and referred to other agencies. So that doesn't mean they're completely ignored if they don't rise to the level of an investigation with Adult Protective Services. I said before we get really into this, let's look at county statistics. Allen County, one of the 17 regional hubs, as I said, fares the best in my opinion. They had a budget of $466,000, which isn't huge in 2024. They underspent by more than $10,000, but they handled the most cases of any hub, which was 1,759. You can compare that to Marion County with a budget of $660,000, and they only handled 536. Now, Mike pointed out before we opened up the show that some of these hubs, you know, the population might differ a little bit. What are some other variables in this?
Well, there's a lot of variations in the populations. We had all of Northeast Indiana, very similar to our congressional district.
Right. Looks like it's about 8 counties.
Yeah, LaGrange, DeBen, DeKalb, Noble, Whitley, Allen, Adams, Huntington, and Wells.
Right.
So a lot of territory to cover, and roughly 700,000 people.
Mm-hmm. So did they try and keep each unit to about 700,000?
No, a lot of them were smaller than that.
Marion would have been bigger, which is kind of surprising because they only had 536, right. But maybe they felt as though a lot of them they handled in a different way. You just don't know.
Yeah, each one operated a little differently, but they were supposed to be kind of a variation from the Child Protective Services kind of thing, where we would get calls about primarily elderly, but they could actually look at anyone over the age of 18 who met the definition of an endangered adult. So we did have a lot of mental health issues that they would look into.
Right.
But with the elderly population, it was looking for everything from physical abuse to financial abuse,
or exploitation of
to
their finances.
self-neglect, to neglect by others, and tough work. I mean, our investigators went out into the field and did home visits and
Was that their sole responsibility to be an investigator for adult protective services, or did they? It was.
Yes.
And how many investigators did you have in this office that took care of 8 counties?
We had a director and 5 investigators at the peak.
Now, so because there's been this change, and it's been outsourced to Public Consulting Group, Inc., which is based out of Boston, but they created an Indiana subsidiary, if you want to use that word. Where are those 6 people now? Are they doing the same type of work, or?
A couple of them went with the new company. A couple of them, we found jobs here for them.
Because there's never a shortage of prosecutors.
Well,
I mean, there's always
they
a
aren't
shortage.
attorneys. They were.
Sorry.
The director is working for Easter Seals Arc, I believe.
Oh, so he moved completely away. Oh.
So she's still doing a lot of that kind of case management and work. We tried to do it in a way that was a combination over the years. And we had this program since 1985.
Right.
The first 20 years of the program, we kind of let it to the Mental Health Association. And then we took it in-house in 2005, I think it was, and tried to have a blend of some law enforcement experience as well as social work, and throw in a little medical as well.
Did you feel in 2005 that the workload had changed in some way or gotten greater?
There was a sense that we needed to do more traditional investigative. It needed a little more, I guess I would call it law enforcement eyes on it. But some of the units throughout the state were very, retired cops type of thing. Other units were very social work. When Mental Health Association had it, it was primarily social work. When we took it back, we started blending it a little bit more. But it still came down to a lot of referrals, a lot of investigations that would then be passed on. If it was something that looked criminal, they would pass it on to law enforcement. If it was a neglect, they would try to get medical attention in. If it was financial exploitation, maybe try to get a guardianship set up, that kind of thing. So,
guardianship, that would have been under Philip Houck, right? The magistrate?
Yeah.
Right. So that would be
in Allen County, but in the other counties, it would be in their various probate courts.
Yeah. So let's just go, and I want to talk about, maybe you can give us some case studies, but an endangered adult is 18 years or older, even though Allen County has mostly done maybe the elderly cases. They're incapable of managing or directing their care because of mental illness, as you said, intellectual disability, which means that they're maybe a very low IQ and can't take care of themselves, dementia, habitual drunkenness, excessive drug use, or other physical or mental incapacity, and must be harmed or threatened with harm by neglect, battery, or exploitation. And I imagine the battery ones are really disturbing.
Oh, clearly, but probably not as common as the neglect and exploitation. And the exploitation kind of crimes were difficult to prove because frequently the caregiver was a family member. And, grandma didn't want to prosecute and maybe said that she gave permission, but was she really in a position to consent? At the same time, it's kind of easy pickings, and we'd have people living off of grandma's or grandpa's Social Security.
Who would typically report that? Would be another family member?
Could be another family member, and then you had to figure out between, is this just an internal fight that one family member is living with the elderly person and the other siblings are thinking that they're taking advantage? And maybe they are. They're not working. There's just so many family dynamics, and each case can be so different that this is the disappointing part of this to me. Just a little kind of history, I guess. The prosecutors did this for a long time with no administrative costs to the state. We didn't get paid. The hub prosecutors didn't get paid any extra for doing APS. And I think
But it was state mandated?
it's a state program, state funded.
Right, so they're telling prosecutors, you have to go after the abuse of the adult protective services, but we're not going to give you any money for it. Is that?
Well, not any additional money.
Right.
We had gone several years with the same allocation. We were not getting cost of living setups. It wasn't fair to our employees. They were working here and not making the same as other county employees. So this had been a discussion for several years with the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council and the hub prosecutors, trying to convince the state that they needed to do certain things. You mentioned what our budget was. For years, we submitted an annual budget that reflected what our investigators would make on the county's grid system, where they would be paid the same as our people.
Right.
And over those years, frequently, the county was giving a cost of living increase. So those numbers were going up over the years. We kept asking, give us an amount of money, because you mentioned that we didn't spend $10,000.
Right, in 2024.
Well, almost every year we would come down to, depending on vacancies and stuff, because we were running this and they were paid by Allen County, we didn't think it was appropriate to have Allen County supplement their funds or ask for Allen County taxpayers to pay additional money when we've got 8 other counties involved.
Oh, that's true.
So we tried to meet within the budget that the state gave us. Well, it was almost impossible to do that and pay everybody. And they never allocated the money. They had some formula they used, which was never really explained. But it never
Fishy formula.
I mean, our budget was pretty simple. We've got these 6 employees. They make this amount of money on the county grid. Could you give us that amount of money? And they wouldn't do that. We'd get this.
What is it with the state? They're always going on and on about, their surplus, but, they're so stingy when it comes to.
Well, this wasn't even stingy, because depending on how it went, we'd either come to the end of the year and be, oh, we're over budget because we haven't had anybody leave all year, or we'd come in that we've got $20,000 or $10,000 that we haven't spent. Because they didn't allocate it properly to what our employees needed. So it was a guessing game almost every year. And so finally, collectively, we decided, and the allocation had been, I think it was $5.7 million statewide, compared to the hundreds of millions they spend for Department of Child Services.
Which is also apparently going through the same revision.
Restructuring.
According to the state. Or no, Indiana Capitol Chronicle.
So we said we're not going to renew our contract effective July 1st of 2025 unless there's additional funding. So they didn't really respond to us for months. And then they put out a bid. And we bid on it. And for an additional $3 million or so, we thought we could probably continue the program throughout the state.
This is the Indiana Prosecuting Attorneys Council
Well,
leading
yes,
this.
this committee of the of
Okay.
prosecutors.
Right.
Well, the state put out a budget that eventually just said, we're not going to pay more than, I think it was $6.3 million a year for a 3-year contract. And if you put out any more than that, then we won't even look at your bid. So they ended up with one bidder, because we did submit another bid on that didn't meet that threshold, but it was what we thought we could do to adequately continue to investigate. And again, with no administrative costs, no profit, just to pay the people that we had and to do the appropriate investigations. The state went ahead and awarded this to, I think you've got the document there, on a private company out of state.
Well, they're calling it the PCG Indiana, which is a Public Consulting Group of Indiana, but we know it is a subsidiary of PCG that's based in Boston, Massachusetts.
Right.
So you all are on here, Adult Protective Services Hub Prosecutor Committee. Then there's something called Community Care Hub of Indiana, Inc. And then number 3 is PCG Indiana, Inc. So I don't know anything about the Community Care Hub of Indiana, but
Well, this contract was let, I guess, before the governor, or in spite of the governor's order about DEI, because it had, I think,
yes, it does.
2 or 3 subsidiary companies comprising 25% of the bid that were minority-owned, woman-owned, and veteran-owned.
Yeah, that's on there, the criteria.
So I don't know how they broke up the work here and how they're doing all of this, unless they're just running a call center, which I've been told is probably what they're doing.
Oh, the good old call center.
So they'll take your complaint, and I don't know what level of follow-through people are getting. I don't believe they are doing in-person investigations.
Are you getting any feedback from the people in your office as to, is PCG Indiana?
The feedback has been it's a mess.
Of course, now we could say that that's always what happens during the first year,
And that's true.
but it would have been so predictable that it's a mess when they've probably brought in their folks from Boston to oversee and make sure that this thing's running right.
Well, and our folks had developed relationships with law enforcement throughout the Northeast Indiana. They developed relationship with social service agencies, nursing homes, all sorts of entities to problem solve. And I don't know how successful it is. And then we had the audacity a month or so ago to get a call from the audit department of APS is under FSSA in state government.
Right, is the Family and Social Services Administration.
And they wanted to audit us on how we were reporting our case notes. And I explained on the phone that, well, we're not doing this anymore. Well, we have to audit what was done in 2025. Well, we only did half of a year in 2025. And the state took everything back. So we don't have any records. We don't have any paperwork. So what are you going to audit? Well, I have to come and do an in-person audit. And I said, there's really nothing to do here. This is
Waste,
a waste.
fraud, and abuse.
This is a waste.
Right now, waste, fraud, and abuse
And she was,
perpetrated by the state on the counties.
and she was a very nice person, but she came in and it was kind of laughable that she wasted her time. Now, she told me she was up in northern Indiana for another audit. Hopefully it was more worthwhile than the one she did here. And I'm happy to report there were no audit findings against us. But
That was a quick turnaround then. If she was just in here, and then you gave her the first half of 2025, and they've already audited it.
So
is this something they used to do to you guys before this takeover by PCG, or is it like new?
I think FSSA, they have to do audits and stuff on federal grants, and that's what she said, that the federal money that was involved, they had to periodically do this kind of thing.
Well, I mean, you're kind of glad that the federal government is looking after where their money's going.
But
on
they
the other hand,
accept an explanation that that vendor is no longer providing the service.
Oh, yes. Well, I was going to say that APS is funded through FSSA, as we said, the Family and Social Services Administration, which also looks over the Department of Child Services, and according to the Indiana Capitol Chronicle, is going through the same thing. When I thought under Mitch Daniels in like 2008 or 9, they had already turned the DCS or the CPS Child Protective Services over to a call center. So they might be further outsourcing.
Well, DCS still does a lot of, I mean, they have to do home visits and check on people. They are not just doing a call center and referring to law enforcement or medical providers or social service providers.
I think the change was that if you did call DCS prior to the call center based in Indianapolis, that you would actually talk to a regional hub like Allen County or your own Allen.
And they have a hotline that they mandated calling on.
And then we had a horrific problem up in South Bend, actually. And we have the young woman who was part of that horrible household in Fort Wayne. I've done an interview, and I'm waiting to finish that story. So there's a local law firm in Fort Wayne and Bluffton. It's called Dale, Huffman and Babcock. I don't know if you're familiar with them. And they were talking about the legislative change in a public bidding process. FSSA awarded a contract for APS, which is Adult Protective Services Management, to a private sector company called Public Consulting Group Indiana out of Indianapolis. PCGI's parent company is Public Consulting Group of Boston. The contract's initial term is July 1st, 2025 through July 1st, 2028, with an option for FSSA to choose an additional 3-year extension to 2031. So these people might be around for a while, because once they get entrenched, you don't normally get rid of them.
Well, it depends on what the people want.
It's not the people so much, because I'll bet you anybody watching this particular podcast, which isn't salacious or controversial, but it has plenty of controversy in it, has never heard of Adult Protective Services.
A lot of times that's true.
And so it says here, prior to the transfer to PCGI, less than 2% of cases that were reported to Adult Protective Services were referred for prosecution. It remains to be seen whether this percentage will change under the new management. So it's only 2%. Obviously, they were investigated and maybe referred to other agencies.
Well, I would think APS was a problem solver and kind of a referral. We certainly prosecuted cases that warranted it, whether it was, I think, neglect, probably the biggest category.
Oh, really?
And the financial exploitation was a lot, but we did a fair number of those cases. But neglect was probably the biggest issue. And investigations, as we looked into nursing homes when we would get complaints.
Really?
Before the State Developmental Center was closed, we did investigations there to make sure that they were doing things properly. So when we'd get reports of people being admitted to the hospital in very bad condition, and some of that is very tricky because some of the caregivers are not real competent to start with. I had a case several years ago that came from an APS where an elderly woman was essentially found dead on a mattress on the floor, and we charged her daughter, who was allegedly her caregiver. The house was an absolute mess, but the daughter worked, I think, at the time at Kroger's. But when we got her in court, and one of the standard questions at the initial hearing is, how old are you? When she said she was 58 and a half, it raised questions about her intelligence. And,
I'm 58 and a half. That's horrible. I'm sorry. I shouldn't even be laughing. Shame on moi. Go ahead.
well, it's just one of those indicators of things that happened. And there are just so many things that needed in APS a good set of eyes and common sense to know how to help people and how to get them the assistance they needed.
How did you find out about that woman who was found dead on the mattress?
I don't remember exactly where the call came in. Usually it's from somebody who has normally sees people and then they haven't seen them for a long time and they're doing a wellness check. Our people actually found a couple that had died in a house that somebody had called it in another county, and it was referred to them to do a check on, and they went up and found them. So I don't know.
Neighbors who said, "Hey, we haven't
seen them."
Right.
And I think the sad part on this is that with just going to a call center, there's not going to be the follow-up that we had. And it wasn't like 6 people to cover 8 counties wasn't a whole lot. But
that's
it was
really the bare minimum, in my opinion.
And I think for the most part, that's how the prosecutors generally felt. We were paddling like crazy, but just keeping our head above water with what we had. And it was kind of like, we need to do better. Hopefully you will look at this and do better. And instead, they save money.
Well, here it is. PCGI, that is Public Consulting Group of Indiana, they have to follow certain rules as set out by FSSA, which is, of course, part of the state government. They have to use, quote, standardized tools to make investigations uniform throughout Indiana. That's sort of insulting in a way because they're kind of suggesting that they weren't uniform throughout Indiana.
Well, it also kind of suggests you want to make it uniform, answer the phone, take down what the complaint is, and do what with it?
Well,
send it to the local sheriff's department, send it to local hospital, which don't do home visits.
Right. Busy enough as it is. And also
The sheriff maybe will run out and take a look, do a wellness check. But it's another example of the state pushing their responsibilities down on the locals.
Yeah, we could go into community corrections too, but we haven't. So PCGI is
We go into the jail. There were 95 people awaiting transport to the Department of Corrections.
I noticed that today, Mike. I looked it up just because I knew I was coming here. Nearly 100 people who were sitting in the Allen County Jail waiting to go to the Department of Correction because they've been convicted and they're supposed to go to prison. And then they get down to RDC, which is where they sort them all out. And that's a bottleneck from what I've been told by our own sheriff, Troy Hirschberger. So PCGI is required to investigate cases with, quote, immediate risk of serious harm within 24 hours. Cases with serious risk, quote unquote, within 4 days, and other cases within 20 days. Do you want to make a comment on that before I go on? Immediate risk of serious harm within 24 hours. Ba-dum-bum.
Well, I don't know. I'm guessing that is a referral to a law enforcement agency.
Probably.
And probably meets their deadline that way.
And then also, if law enforcement were to go out, would they go along with, in the old days, which was like a year ago, would they go out with one of your investigators?
Sometimes.
See, so then you would have
But normally we would, if we didn't think it was a threatening situation, our people would go out together usually.
Yeah, I mean, local
say,
law enforcement, if you call them up, everybody lives within the community. They might know about this family to begin with. Whereas if you've got this call center, it's getting to the point where everything's become impersonal. It's your credit cards and your banking and you know, your cable TV, and everything is handled by people who are overseas. I mean, I don't know, Amazon, I think one time I called up and talked to somebody in India. So now all of a sudden we're talking to people on the phone again, but it's real people who we're talking about.
Yeah, and I don't know that.
It's not just an order for socks.
I mean, I know they hired some people that had worked in the, for us before. What I have heard is not necessarily good things about how it's running.
Not terribly shocking.
But I just, I know they're not doing the home visits the way we did.
See, and that's just...
And I know that there's got to be some administrative cost and some profit motive for a private company to take this on.
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to go into that in a bit.
So
here, Indiana remains a, quote, mandatory reporting state, meaning that anyone who is aware of a potential situation of abuse, neglect, or exploitation is required by law to report the circumstances to law enforcement or to Adult Protective Services. We are a mandatory reporting state.
Yep. So you make a phone call and you meet that.
Make a phone call and you meet that. So, unfortunately, we only have the reports right here from 2024. When are we going to get the one? I mean, it's only a half a year into 2026, so we don't really know. And that wouldn't reflect an entire year of PCG. We're going to have to wait until 2027, really, to get an entire year of PCG. And then, is the average person even going to know about it or even care, unless your loved one has been caught in the maelstrom of mishandling these
The end of next month will complete their first year.
That's right.
So I don't know what kind of reporting they will do at that time.
Or even if they could be available to those of us, those reporters. I mean, we don't even have that many reporters around anymore that we could try and FOIA and find out, hey, Allen County made this many cases in such and such a date. What are we looking at now? And see. And it's like, oh, well, we do it completely differently. That's what they're going to tell me. That's my prediction. We have completely different matrix now. So let's talk about PCG, the private company founded in 1986. They have 2,000 employees, but they're all over the world. That's not a heck of a lot of employees. Latest deal, it says, was $90 million. We don't know the net worth of PCG because it's hidden. They're a private company. They don't have to report to Wall Street on what they're making. Indiana, the deal was for $19 million. There were 3 bidders. At least I have 3 bidders on this sheet of paper. And PCG was the only one who made that, or they were the only one who met what the state wanted to pay. From the information that was distributed, I did not see what the other bids were. I mean, Mike is telling me that you put out a bid for what, $27 million? I think we figured out that the
original bid was pretty high, and then a second bid was lower than that, 9 something, I think.
But it's like, where can we cut? Because you want to pay your people. So this is what FSSA said in a document that the Indiana Capitol Chronicle put out. Quote, steps are being taken to minimize disruptions to active investigations and to preserve continuity of care. Efforts are underway to retain experienced investigators and recruit qualified personnel, as well as to sustain collaboration with law enforcement, healthcare providers, which I hate that phrase. Why don't you just say doctors and nurses? It's just like,
Because they're not going to hire any doctors.
I mean, it's just like, it's such a jargon. I'm so tired of it. Let's just think of something new besides healthcare providers. And community-based services. There you go again, community-based services. Their response was among a dozen answers to frequently asked questions about the switch. PCG Indiana will replace the 17 county-based hubs with 5 regions, and they're, once again, if it's only 5 regions, that's going to be more impersonal. You've got Northwest, Northeast, Central, Southwest, and Southeast, and coordinated under a statewide model according to a separate document with key information for, another word don't we all love, stakeholders. So I went on PCG's website, because Mike doesn't have anything to say to that. Oh, yes, it also said this move was similar to what's going on with Department of Child Services, or DCS.
I think that's talking about DCS is redoing or announced, like a year ago or beginning of the year, I forget which, that they were redoing their regions. And I think they were going to 5 regions similar to the Northeast, Northwest, Southwest, Southeast, and Central.
But see, that's less personalized services, that's going to save the money, but is it going to save children? And that's the big
DCS, when Adam Krupp announced, I guess that was actually almost a year ago, because it was, I think, right before the end of the fiscal year for the state, that they announced they were going to smaller regions. They were eliminating some of the mid-level positions that they would save, but they were trying to put more people into the field.
Like case managers.
Yeah, they had some intermediate administrators that they were getting rid of.
Well, we'll see how all this shakes out. It's going to take at least a couple of years to see, and hopefully there will be people who are watching this to see if it's,
Well, they named a new DCS director recently, and Adam Krupp, who seemed like a really good guy, has some kind of role with him.
Was he the director of DCS? Mm-hmm. So he's no longer the director of DCS?
They announced within the last month or so.
Okay. Well, that would be a good one to go to. So I went on PCG's website. And of course, I'm always skeptical because I am in journalism. And you have to ask questions like, what do you mean by that, right? How much money is that going to cost? Questions that people don't always want to answer. So they ironically, in my opinion, state that they believe in the public sector. They are a private company, but they believe in the public sector while being a private entity. So here you go. This is their statement. We believe in the power of the public sector. Our public sector focus means that we have a deep understanding of the challenges our clients face, from economic constraints to demographic shifts to regulatory changes, and what it takes to surmount them. For more than 35 years, we have helped our clients. Number 1, maximize resources. Contain or cut costs. That's the first thing private equity does, is cut costs. Usually, when they maximize resources, that means they cut positions. That's just my opinion, but I have made a study of this. My husband is a financial journalist. I've often discussed this with him, and I did live in New Jersey when the 2008 economic collapse occurred. So I feel like I have some education in that. Here's another one. They make better management decisions. They are the pros. Another one, this is scary. Streamline their business processes. Which I know in journalism that we went.
Many of those things are accurate and can be done. Sometimes government isn't efficient. but sometimes that's intentional. In this area, I think the question is, are they going to provide the same level of service? Now, if the state doesn't want the same level of service, I don't know how they're going to provide that, and I don't think they're out there doing the same home visits. Doing home visits is inefficient.
But it's
If you're coming
crucial.
from Fort Wayne and you got to drive up to Angola, it's gonna take you 45 minutes to an hour to get there, and another 45 minutes or more to get back. So it just depends on what level of service you want.
Exactly. So they want to streamline their business processes. Another one is implement and improve their technology solutions, which means that every time there's a case, you're going to have AI summarize it. Just like they do my emails, and I find it super irritating. And I try and dig in there and find what my actual email is. I don't know if any of you have been through that or not. It's very maddening. Improve federal and state compliance.
Well, if it's like the audit, I don't know how they improve it.
Exactly. And you've got all those people down there working in the state who are already, the State Board of Accounts, for instance, that's making you do these audits and fill out this paperwork. So they're going to come in and they're going to improve it. And it just means that I've been through some of these type things in a company. And
if it's not adequate to say, the vendor has changed, the vendor who performed these services previously is not doing it, and a new vendor is in place. So going and doing an on-site visit is a waste of time and money.
If they ever said that, we need an update.
Yeah, and that's where it gets silly. Well, the feds say we have to do it.
Oh. The feds say you have to do it, and then you're thinking they might tell you to cut those out.
Well, I think that's an example to me of waste in the waste, fraud, and abuse. Sometimes we've put so many restrictions on programs that they become absurd to manage. Mm-hmm. And common sense is tossed out the window. And I hope with APS that we have not reached a level where we are not responding appropriately.
Well, we need to find out what's going on in the field. The next bullet point and the final one is optimize client outcomes. I think we've already discussed that that's probably not going to happen because there might not be any home visits. And people are going to get neglected and abused and exploited.
I mean, it just comes down to, in this area, some stuff you have to see with your own eyes. And you have to smell. You have to walk in to a horrible house. I mean, it's like, it's like investigating a murder case without going to the scene.
Yes, I was just thinking that. Can you imagine if it was in a call center? We've had a shooting over on such and such. Okay, well...
Yeah. I mean, it's, we'll be right over, not.
Right. Well, just ask law enforcement if they can make it. They claim that they have approximately 1,000 open contracts at any given time. They have a family of companies that has experience in all 50 states, 6 Canadian provinces, and the European Union, although I would imagine that they would have to follow the rules of each country in the European Union. Probably England, they would do rather well after Brexit. Our 2,000 plus employees around the world bring a wide range of public and private sector experience and subject matter expertise. I would love to know what they're paying their people compared to what we were paying our people.
Not as much.
See, there you go. It's cutting it down, cutting the benefits. Here we go again. Their subject matter expertise includes, and this is going to make you worry, ranging from management consulting, okay, we already know that, Medicaid, special education, We don't want that cut. I've seen amazing things done with special education students. Technology, workforce empowerment, financial services, and beyond. So, what are they valued? This is my last point. They are valued supposedly, this is just a guess because like I said, they're not a publicly traded company, anywhere from $600 million to $1.2 billion, which isn't huge compared to other companies. But firm valuation estimates vary across financial intelligence platforms, which again is super big jargon, with some estimating its valuation to be almost $2 billion. So I guess the bottom line is, will this move help PCG's bottom line if a case is prosecuted or not? In other words, if you don't prosecute a case, do you make more money? Is the bottom line improved? Because it costs money to prosecute a case.
Well, they won't be doing prosecuting.
But they have to refer, do they not?
Well, if they refer, they're probably just referring to law enforcement.
So we'll have to see. Do you know how many you prosecuted? I mean, I know how many cases. Well, you must have, if it says here that you did, what did I say, 1,756 cases?
I don't know that we've received any referrals from them so far this year or in the last 11 months.
Really? That's bad.
Now, that doesn't mean that they didn't notify law enforcement and send something our way, or notified through the state Medicaid fraud unit. We've received some referrals from them, but I don't know if we've received anything directly from the new APS.
Well, I mean, you all did almost 1,800 cases in 2024.
But those all didn't come to the prosecutor. Many of those cases are ended up being referrals that we could take care of rather easily, or guardianship appointed, or notifying a family member that Uncle Frank has got some problems, and rally the troops in that family to come up with solutions to help out their loved one. And particularly as, our kids move away and our family units are separated, they may not realize that their loved one is not eating appropriately. Mm-hmm. Even if they're checking up on them periodically and talking to them, if they haven't put eyes on them, they may not know the extent of self-neglect. And,
well, it's
and the same thing with if somebody else is harassing them. As dementia sets in and they become dependent on a caregiver, and the caregiver is taking advantage of them, there's a certain psychology attached to that they're dependent on the person, even though they're being abused.
So, but if you've got this number of cases, what does that reflect? Because it seems to me that the number of cases here
reflects a lot of work.
It reflects a lot of work, and I just assumed that the prosecutors were involved in these almost 1,800 from 2024.
Our staff took those, but they all weren't going to be criminal.
Right, okay. So that's what I'm saying. That represents the prosecutor's office. It was involved in nearly 1,800 cases in that 1 year. Have you been involved in any in the last 6 months? What I'm hearing is no.
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't done a thorough search, but it would not surprise me that there was a referral about somebody, but financial exploitation is really tough to prove because so frequently the person will consent. Yeah, I gave my grandson permission to use my car, kind of thing. And the physical abuse is more rare. The neglect was more common. And the neglect is really tough. And again, if you don't have eyes on it, it's hard to see.
So we're going to have to see whether there's eyes on it.
Yeah.
We'll follow up. Okay, it's a deal. All right, you all, did you want to do a rant? Are you thinking about one? I think it's funny that I&M is going to give us $6 in our June bill. I don't know if you all read that.
Oh, what did I did have something I wanted to.
Was it about Flock?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. Yes. Looks like City Council is considering not renewing the contract for Flock, F-L-O-C-K, which is the automatic license plate reader.
And that is really unfortunate. We have been very lucky. I mean, people have touted our homicides solve rate.
Right.
And
It's amazing.
some of that is due to Flock. Flock is one additional tool to track people. And we've had cases where I don't know if it's directly related to Flock, but we've used surveillance cameras from businesses, I believe from Flock, to follow cars from one side of town to the other. Mm-hmm. Whether it was a hit and run after an accident or a murder suspect leaving the scene. Mm-hmm. We've always made the complaint or justification for why we couldn't solve every crime or reduce crime by saying, well, we can't put a cop on every corner. Well, with this, in a sense, we can put a cop on every corner. And I think there are protections built into the use of the system that will protect individual liberty. We are not recording things that you can hear, as I understand the current technology. That doesn't mean it may not happen at some point. There was a TV show several years ago that I utilized this kind of technology, and I don't even remember the name of it, but it was pretty entertaining what they could bring up. And I think the TV version of
what's it called?
The Equalizer.
Oh, okay, yeah. They've got a guy tracking.
And they've got a guy that pulls up a lot of things from their basement computer stuff, and he's tracking into traffic cameras and finding stuff. This is the ability to solve crimes in the future. This is no different, or I mean, it is different, but it has restrictions on it of the Ring doorbells that are out there that so many people have. I think we should make it tough for criminals to commit their crimes. It's going to be on camera. Take your chances, because you're going to get caught. And that's a really strong message to send. And I think to move away from that, when there's really little documented evidence to say that anybody's civil rights are being abused by these cameras. I mean, I don't have a lot of sympathy. I mean, I've become very cautious driving on timed lights right now. And I usually, go home driving out on Washington. But I have seen so many cars on Ewing or Fairfield or Broadway run those lights well after they've...
Really?
Mm-hmm. And I think it's very dangerous if you're running the light well after it's changed, because we've got a lot of timed intersections that the flow, you don't have to really reduce your speed a whole lot, and drivers time that out. So, the consequences of that, catching those people and giving them a ticket, I think probably makes them a better driver in the long run.
It does fill the city coffers too. Better believe it.
That doesn't hurt either. But no, the more
charge.
Well, the important part of it though is to promote safer driving, because if you're then the person driving on Washington or Lafayette or Coldwater, and you're timing some of those lights and somebody plows into you and hits you.
And we still have an awful lot of traffic accidents because
We do, and this is another way, though, to stop some of that.
Yeah.
And
You hope.
You hope. But from a crime fighting, I would much rather see them discuss whether it's an effective tool for the cost, rather than worries about privacy that are non-existent.
Well, I think they're waiting until sometime in July now to reconsider it,
Yeah.
or to vote on it, so that gives them time.
Hopefully they'll do some research. I get a little tired sometimes of people saying they're supporting public safety, and then they go down to the legislature or they go on city council and they don't vote for public safety.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of questions. There's definitely a lot of questions, so. Anyway.
Well, it'll be nice because I think we're going to have an officer on, hopefully in the future, to discuss those cameras better.
Oh, yeah.
But as Chief Smith said in the paper today, this would be a real step back for law enforcement.
Right, and I think he's a fair and beloved character in our city.
Yep.
Chief P.J. Smith, who was on one of our podcasts, and you should all check that out. We had a lot of fun that day. So anyway, thank you for staying with us. This has been The Probable Cause. You can listen to us on Spotify or Apple. You can also see us on YouTube or check us out on the Facebook page, The Probable Cause. And for now, I can't think of anything else to say, so goodbye. This episode is filmed and edited by Frosty Pictures. The Probable Cause is produced by Maumee Media.
Worried when I crossed the Michigan line, a cop from Steuben County waiting on I-69. A headlamp went out while he pulled me over, charged me with possession after I rolled down the window.
Now that's skunk.
Indiana's a trip when it comes to weed. It's like who doesn't smoke or use gummies? Your grandpa, your brother, your rich friend from school? Hell, throw in the whole courthouse and my attorney too. It's time those assholes change these stupid laws. It ain't worth the paper for a probable cause. Sitting on a bar stool in my usual place, this guy next to me said he was looking for some cocaine. Hell, I just sold him an 8-ball with a little piece off for me. But my buyer was a cop? Should have known he was a creep. So I'm a dealer, right? You gotta be kidding. It's a rich man's drug. I just take it because I'm injured. 8 years in Westville with a monkey on my back. There's more drugs in here than you can shake a shank at. One dirty drug test, man, this system's flawed. Undercover screwed me in my probable cause. Street crimes never did me no favors. I'm hooked on Fetty. I'm a junkie, not a felon. Told that son of a bitch on the way to lockup. I can't seem to shake it. I need help, not mocking. What do you want from someone who's been through the system? Drugs all through the house before mom and dad went to prison. Throw me in jail and give me a fine? Someday I'll be dead and away from your kind. Now I'm at the courthouse in front of a judge. Can't say my public defender cares for me much. Crimes are committed on both sides of the law. God help me now with this probable cause. C shift never gets old. Anything can happen when you're out on patrol. You think I'm just eating donuts, man? Give me a break. Nothing on this job is a piece of cake. Lights and sirens activated, this knucklehead wants to chase. Baby mama at the scene just spit in my face. Wife's worried that someday I won't be pulling up at all. You'll read about my killer in a probable cause. Man. She went through my phone and she seen my text. I told her forget it. It was just my ex. She took a swing and knocked me flat. Man, I went wild to get her back. Judge slapped me with a no contact order. Now she's got the kids and she's staying with her mother. So she started it all and I have to take the fall. You can read my whole story in the probable when I was young. Caught a case for dealing and did my time. Yeah, I got a record, but I was doing fine. Running my own business on the southeast side. Yeah, I got a gun. I kept it on hand. Told the cop my reason, thought he'd understand. In this neighborhood, you need some protection. Attorney thought I could get just community corrections, but the judge decided to send me to prison. Can't get ahead no matter how hard I try. Read the probable cause, it'll make you cry.
Whispers and rumors that don't get reported. Stories I write that are often distorted. Got my notebook and pen, and I'm ready to listen. Tell me the truth, I'll consider your position. I've seen killers with eyes so cold and dead, and others go to prison because of what someone said, rotting away for the rest of their lives, leaving a hole here on the outside. Things are sad here on earth, and it's no wonder why. when you consider the sociopaths who remain in charge. It's me who sees the system for all its flaws, and I usually start with the probable cause. My right hand is reading the probable cause.